Lesson number 3. The definition of choshech is, if you flip the letters around, is shachach, is to forget. Anti-Semitism is the whole oldest hatred on earth. We're witnessing it right now worldwide. The Kanye Wests of the world praise those people who stuffed our people into cattle cars and burnt them into ovens. Anti-Semites have also tried to destroy our souls. What should be our response to these people? The Hebrew word for darkness is choshech. The same letters, if they're turned around, can spell shachach, which means to forget. Darkness comes when we as a people abandon our Jewish identity, forget who we are, become ashamed of who we are not proud of who we are. We are living in a time when demonizing the Jews in our people has become culturally acceptable. If you feel like it, just get up there and spew out any anti-Semitic rant. We hear that Jews on the bank own the banks that control the media. Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets, the basketball team, insists that the black Israelites are the Jews, that we're not the real Jews. On college campuses around the world, those who stand for Israel are vilified. They're punished, they're made fun of. Across the internet, thousands post that the Holocaust never happened. What's going on? We're witnessing the rewriting of the Jewish history. Our culture, our heritage, and our nationhood now is being attacked. Our rich legacy as a Jewish people is being stolen in front of our very eyes. Forgetting where we come from means we become ignorant about the roots of our people and lose a part of ourselves. We have no way of combating the lies because we simply are not aware of the truth. And this is the tragedy when we forget, when we don't invest in our education, when we don't understand how great we are as a people, when we're not proud to be Jews. And that's important. We have to light up the darkness in this time of the year, in our lives, by making sure we educate the world and ourselves, most importantly, who we are and how great we are and how rich our legacy is. Light breaks through when we remember who we are. Let me share with you an amazing story that happened in Yerushalayim a few years ago about a man who was decorating already, getting the Hanukkah ready in Shabbos, Hanukkah, Erev Shabbos, and he heard a bang and a crash down below. He was in the 5th floor apartment, in his apartment in Yerushalayim, and then he ran downstairs. He had this eerie feeling. There was a group of kids surrounding a certain child. It turned out that his 9-year-old daughter Esti had fallen, had suffered an accident, and she was in horrific pain, screaming. So they called Magen David Edom, which is the 911 in Israel, and they came to their rescue. It was an hour before Hanukkah and Shabbos were about to start. They had a mobile imaging device like an MRI, and they were able to determine that the little girl had fractured her elbow, and they radioed her ahead to the trauma unit in Hadassah Hospital to get ready for surgery. So they whisked the girl through the emergency room and into surgery, where they took her into surgery. Meanwhile, it was too late for Esti's father to get back home, so he called his wife. He says, I guess I'm stuck in the hospital. I'm going to go down to the shul to daven while Esti's recovering from her orthopedic surgery. And there he was. He went to the Hadassah Hospital's Bet Knesset, the shul, which is famous for its Chagall windows. And he's sitting there minding his own business, and the Gabbai of the shul, the caretaker of the shul, walks around and he starts to say hello to people. He walks up to him and he says to him something fascinating. He says, you know what? Would you like to go up for a few moments, sir, and give the crowd a little bit of inspiration? After all, it's Hanukkah tonight. Perhaps you can help us and share a bit of inspiration and, lighten people's moods up. He says, you got the wrong guy, pal. I can't do that. And the Gabbai went from person to person sitting inside that shul. No one wanted to volunteer to get up there, say a few words, just to be able to inspire the crowd and put them in a better mood. Until the man, the big Hasidic guy, walked through the doors of the synagogue. He was a big man. And he exuded an unshakable confidence with his broad shoulders. And he was approached by the Gabbai. Would you like to say a few words in order to inspire the crowd? The man approached him and he said, sure, I'll speak. Let me just daven mincha. Once mincha was over, he went up to the podium. He placed his hands on either side of the stender. He looked at the mix of people in the audience and he began to speak. And he said, ladies and gentlemen, hospitals are funny places. People are here for so many different reasons. Some are here for simchas because now they're the fathers of boys or baby girls. Unfortunately, many of us are not here for good reasons. Many of us are here because we have, loved ones who are sick upstairs or undergoing surgery or for who knows how many other diagnoses. And he says, it's Shabbos Hanukkah tonight. We have to ask ourselves some interesting questions. The halacha, the law is that you're supposed to light the menorah according to the Shulchan Aruch, which is the code of law, very low to the ground. And I have to ask you a question. Why would the rabbis legislate the law that the best place to light the menorah or the Chanukiah is low to the ground? It wouldn't be better if it was much higher, where people could see it, yet the Shulchan Aruch, the code of law, tells us that the best place to light the menorah is literally very low to the ground. Why would the rabbis do that? Why would they tell us to light the menorah near the ground where nobody can see it? Wouldn't it make much more sense to light them in a place where people could see the flames for miles around? But instead the Torah tells us, light them near the floor. And he says, let's ask a second question. You know, when the Maccabees went in and discovered that cruse of oil, and it decided, and they were able to light it, and then they had another 7 days of miracles, the rabbis did not institute the holiday of Hanukkah that very first year of the miracle. Yet what they did was they waited for the next year. The second year, the year after the miracle took place, is when they instituted the holiday of Hanukkah. Why was that? Why didn't the rabbis institute the holiday of Hanukkah immediately, the year that the miracle took place? So those are interesting questions. And then he starts by telling them an interesting concept and a great story. He says, my friends, as I said to you before, most of us are here tonight and we're in a hospital, not here for happy reasons. I myself am not here for a simcha, by the way. In fact, today is one of the saddest moments of my entire life. My father, he said, my father is in the hospital tonight, right upstairs. While we're sitting here in davening, he's in the middle of surgery. You see, my father is a diabetic. And in order to save his life, the doctors told him that they have to amputate the leg. I know all too well, I have history as an orthopedic and foot surgeon, and diabetics, unfortunately, if they have uncontrolled blood glucose, will lead to situations where they get infections, and in order to save the person's life, the surgeon has to go in there and amputate the leg in order to be able to stop the infection and halt the problem and save the man's life. So he says, my father's right upstairs having surgery. But before I was made to take leave of my father, as he was being wheeled into surgery, he did something, my father, that made me remember how proud of him to be his son, and how unbelievably lucky I am to have been born his son. Allow me to tell you a little bit about my father, the big broad Hasidic man said. This is a man who went through the concentration camps and emerged with his faith in God 100% intact. A man who raised a large family with such simcha and joy that you wouldn't believe that he ever knew a concept called the Holocaust, much less lived through it. This is a man who was wheeled into the operating room this afternoon. I stood there, ladies and gentlemen, watching him. What was my father going to do? What was he going to say in the final moments before they put him under anesthesia and amputated his leg off forever? Would my father cry? Would he bemoan his fate? He did nothing of the sort. Instead, my father looked up to the ceiling, looked up heavenward, lifted his eyes towards heaven, and began speaking to God. And he said the following, Hashem, he began, thank you so much. Thank you for all the years that I had my legs. Thank you that I was able to do mitzvahs with my feet. Thank you for allowing me to marry off all my children. Me, a person who never dreamed that he'd make it out of the inferno of the Holocaust alive, whom was zochet to come to Eretz Yisrael and dance at the wedding of 11 children. Thank you, Hashem, so much. Thank you for all the years in which I was able to serve you with joy. Thank you for standing by my side, Hashem, and being there with me. Thank you, Hashem. Ladies and gentlemen, that is essentially the whole essence of Hanukkah. Praise and gratitude to Hashem. And that's why every day of Hanukkah we say the full Hallel, because we praise Hashem. We take this opportunity to thank Hashem. And if we do that, we can bring numerous miracles and salvations in our own lives. And going back to the story of the chassid, he says, this is what my father said as they were wheeling him into the operating theater, with tears pouring down his face. And so I ask you again, ladies and gentlemen, why do we light the menorah so close to the ground? Why does the Shulchan Aruch want us to light it low, not high, where everyone can see it? And he answered the following, we light the menorah close to the ground because we're supposed to uncover the sparks of light in the midst of darkness, the way my father did today, that we ourselves, I'm talking to myself, Dr. Jack Cohen, and I'm talking to my audience, that we have to look for the good in our lives. It's easy to search and have a myopic eye and only look at the bad, the negative. No, we have to search for the light in our life, and there's so much of it. We're alive, we're healthy, we have family, we have food, we have a place to live, we take vacations, we live in a country where we relatively have freedom, and so on and so on. And so that's what we have to do. And that's what my father did today, the chassid said. He looked at the good, and he examined the good, and he was grateful for the good. And why did the Jews wait until the next year before deciding to make Hanukkah a Yom Tov eternally forever? Why didn't they establish Hanukkah as a holiday of the year that the miracle took place? Because they needed to see if the darkness would come back. They thought that once they found that cruse of oil, that darkness would be removed from the world forever. The following year, they saw that the darkness came back. The second year, the year after the Hanukkah miracle. And they said, you know what? We have to now create a holiday forever. A holiday of light. a holiday that in the darkest time of the year, the Jews will be able to celebrate this holiday and walk away strengthened and inspired with light and illuminate their lives so they can push forward through this world. And that's why the rabbis did not institute the holiday the first year, but they waited for the second year. When they saw the darkness return to the world, they said, we need to institute a holiday that'll bring forth light into the world. And that's what's important. And that's what we have to see, because these are the days when we can find the light, when we can uncover the small flickering sparks of light in the middle of the vast ocean of endless darkness that seems to pervade us. Now's the time to celebrate the light with great joy, as we're celebrating tonight and as we shall celebrate this whole week.